For almost all of my life, I was this indecisive person. I could never choose one decision, especially when it was between two things. I would always doubt myself. I would say, what's the best option? I would look at what other people are choosing, and I would never have the confidence to actually choose one option. I remember I would be in restaurants, and my friends would pick a food, and I remember even though I wanted to get a different food, I would get the same one because I couldn't have the thought of maybe losing, of maybe not having the best experience. It was always, I didn't have confidence in my decisions. But then there was a point in my life where this completely changed. It got flipped on its head. I remember I started working out, and in this period, I thought I just had to work, just work. That's it. And so I just put my head down. I just started working. But what happened was, even though I was finally taking action, I wasn't doubting myself. I wasn't thinking that much. Because I wasn't thinking that much, and because I would just do the action just to do the action, I found out that I had disproportionate muscles. I found out that my chest was too big, that my back was too weak, that my shoulders hadn't fully developed, and the only thing that really developed was my chest, because I liked chest exercises. I hadn't had a structured program that told me, hey, don't do this too much. You have to actually think about it. I didn't realize that. I thought I just had to, put in the work. And so that's what I was doing. So I went from this guy who was completely indecisive, who never could make a decision, to the guy who just stuck to one decision, didn't think about it at all. I've been on both sides of it. And I found that the most beautiful things, the ways that you can make the biggest moves in your life, the ways that you can actually be productive and be proud of yourself and be efficient, and all those things, is to combine both these schools of thought, is to actually take the time to have patience and to think, but also not to wait so long that you fear making a wrong decision, to not wait so long that you fear, I don't know if I should do this, and you get stuck in analysis process, but also doing the action. It's actually thinking and structuring and strategizing, but also taking the action when it comes down to it. It's taking the action and taking the initiative and going forward. When you combine both of them, you find that it's so much easier to do anything that you want in life. So today I'm going to give you a ways to think about both of them and to incorporate both of them into your action and your thought. So first, I'm going to talk about the slow, methodical, patient way of thinking. Now this is more for the people who are aggressive, who are action takers, but find that they make wrong decisions all the time. They're like, why did I do that? Why did I make that decision? That was such a dumb thing to do. If you feel like you have those kind of thoughts, then this is for you. And many people are probably thinking, what's the point of slow thinking? That's analysis paralysis, isn't it? Well, I want to share with you a story that I learned about Queen Elizabeth I. And this was during her reign in England, and the Spanish Armada was coming to convert England back to Catholicism. So the Spanish Armada started taking off, and she could have started saying, hey, build the ships, get ready to fight, get ready for the army. But instead, she decided to wait, and she decided to think, and she looked at the weather patterns instead of just going into attack mode. And when she looked at the weather patterns, she had these analysts come, and they all analyzed it. They found that there was a huge storm that was brewing. I can't remember if it's a hurricane or it was just a huge storm, but regardless, it was a huge storm that was brewing. And she decided not to spend anything on this war and to just let the weather take out the Spanish Armada. And that's exactly what happened. She didn't have to lay a finger. Maybe a couple spies got killed, but a majority of the fighting did not happen. She saved a lot of lives in England, and the Spanish Armada was completely wiped out. That's why slow, methodical thinking is important. It's to actually be patient and to see what's going on, see the bigger picture, instead of rushing into action, instead of trying to eliminate the problem. And sometimes you create consequences that you had not even thought about, almost all the time actually. Right? If she had just gone into attacking the Spanish Armada, what if the Spanish had a secret alliance, and then they would have gotten caught in a larger war? That was smart thinking by her. You gotta realize that whenever you have an obstacle, whenever you have a problem, instead of just attacking it without knowing what you're doing, instead of just trying to fix and eliminate the problem, you have to step back and think about it. Step back and take the time to actually look at what's going on. Take the time to actually think about the decision. So many times in my life, I remember that I would make irrational decisions because I would be in the moment. Whenever I got in a disagreement with the people around me, I would make horrible decisions. I would say bad things, and it would always turn out bad for me. it would always turn out bad for me. I would always get in trouble at school, and I would always think, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why couldn't I just think for one moment? So this is a tip that I want to give to you. Whenever you feel like you're in the moment, when everything's happening, when your emotions are spurred, take a big breath. Right? I know it sounds simple, but take a deep breath all the way into your abdomen. Feel it inside you, and you will notice that you are more calm afterwards. And then I want you to imagine that you are the observer. You are the guy that is watching your thoughts and your impulses and your feelings. And I want you to look at every single one of them and analyze them. Instead of feeling angry, I want you to look at that emotion of anger entering your mind. And I want you to ask, is this necessary? Is this what I need? Do I really need this right now? And that way, it's going to help you analyze what's going on in your head. And instead of being the guy who acts irrationally, be the observer that acts almost always rationally. And on a larger scale, when you have bigger problems, I want you to recess farther back. I want you to go on a walk. I want you to go in nature and see, large distances. It actually helps a lot for me to see things that are very far away. It almost feels like my brain is opening up because I can see so far that I'm seeing so distantly. It feels so good to be where nobody else is. So go in nature, especially, it feels very good, and go for a hike there. Another thing that I would recommend is to meditate. So sit down and not have any thoughts for at least 10 minutes, right? Just sit down, set a timer, and don't have any thoughts. Don't even think about anything. Try to just focus on your breath. And you'll find that when you actually have thoughts, you'll be careful of what kind of thoughts are in you. You let go of all the emotions and impulses that would have affected you before. Something that's also helped me is to actually sleep on my decisions. I know a lot of people say this, but it really is helpful. If you have a really big decision that's coming into you, don't just make the decision when you've gone through all the troubles during the day. I want you to make the decision after you go to sleep, after you have a good night of sleep, not when you first wake up, but after some time. Then you're going to make the decision. Right? It's not when you're about to go to sleep, when you talk to these different people that you don't like, that you're annoyed, that you're irritated, that you're emotional. Go to sleep, let it go. And you also don't want to do it when you first wake up, when you're lazy, when you want to go to bed. After some time, in the morning, when you're starting to work, you want to make that decision. And you'll find that it's much more clear, much more rational, and much more easy to make a good decision. And what I mean by making a decision is always remember, what are my goals in life? What are my things that I'm abiding to? What are the things that I want to do in my life? Right? Look at my aspirations, look at my ambitions. How does this appeal to me? What is the best thing? What is the best thing to do so I can achieve my goals? And also really think about, what are the virtues that I want? What are the virtues that I want to live by? And this will help you not make decisions that will make you disgusted in the future. Right? You don't want to look back at your past self and be disgusted. You want to actually be proud of what you're doing. So when you're in the moment, I want you to take a time to genuinely think about my goals. What do I want to achieve, and who is the person that I want to be? And I want you to practice patience and resilience with this. Now, this is for the people who are too methodical, who always take too much time, I think, who is like me when I was much younger, when I was constantly indecisive. This is how to be more quick and more aggressive. The first thing that you got to realize is that it's okay to have challenges in your life. It's okay to have stress in your life. A lot of us indecisive people are looking to shy away from stress. Stop doing that. Go for the stress. Go for the challenge. See what's going on, because that's what makes your life beautiful, right? That's what makes your life vibrant. You don't want to just sit there and analyze everything and make everything into paper and boring stuff. You want to actually enjoy the greatness of life, and a lot of that comes from actually involving stress into your life. I know a lot of people will disagree with this. A lot of people will say, I hate stress. But really think about it. If you're bored, if you're someone who's always analyzing, you're not living your best life. It would be so much cooler and so much better for you if you could actually experience some of those harsh deadlines of getting stuff done. You always want to make sure that your strategizing and your methodical way of thinking only comes because, that's the actual more advantageous thing to do. It's not because you're afraid. It's not because you're afraid of challenge. It's out of fear. Don't act like that. Act patient and resilient and calm when you are sure that is actually advantageous. A lot of times people would come into my life and I didn't really agree with what they were saying. I didn't agree with their viewpoints. I didn't agree with their values. They weren't people that I liked. And still, I would pretend like I liked them. I would always try to be too agreeable. I wouldn't ever try to hurt their feelings. I wouldn't ever try to make them feel, a little bit uncomfortable. And that would make me into a shell of the person that I was supposed to be. That would make me into a husk of a person because I was always afraid of confronting them. That's not how you want to live your life. If you feel like they're going against your values, go against it. When you feel like their virtues are not aligned with you, when you feel like you actually want to disagree with them, don't just walk around it and try to don't be like that. Don't be like that. Be strong and be confident after you have made the decision. Another thing that's helped me is to always make deadlines for when I'm going to finish planning. So instead of being like, actually, maybe I need to think a little bit more, and that's usually out of fear, I've already said, okay, by this date or by this hour, I'm going to have this figured out, and then I'm going to act. So when it gets to that date or that hour, regardless of if my mind is like, I'm not sure, whichever decision is the most favored, I'm going to act on that one. And regardless of if you're still unsure, then I'm just going to pick a random one, because it's better to act and not fall back on your word, right? Remember that. Set a time to plan, but after that time, stop thinking and actually act on whichever one is the best. Be bold, be adventurous, and accept challenges into your life. I hope that this video was a little bit insightful and it helps you make big moves in your life. I hope that you got something from this video. Hope that you go out and conquer.